What's up, guys? This is Justin, the Board Game Roamer, and we are going to be talking about Guardian combat in this video. So, if you remember from our overview, the minions are kind of the trash mobs, and we have chamber combat with champions. But Guardians are these roaming sort of bosses that are much tougher. That are running around the dungeon trying to defeat us. They are also part of the quest system, so you will have some number of these that you will have to defeat in order to complete one of the quest books in order to close out the quest and complete the quest table. So we're going to talk about that. So first we're going to talk about classic combat with these Guardians, how that works, and then we'll talk about the revised combat, and then as far as a hero attacking a Guardian in classic and revised. And then we'll talk about when a Guardian attacks a hero here at the end. So let's start with our hero. We have a hero here. We have a Guardian. Again, this is classic. So you'll notice that the Guardian card is very similar to the champions and the minions in a lot of ways. It pretty much mimics all of them. Mostly the minion, because we have our warfare types, we have our essence, we have our health, we have our character rating, right, for breaking ties. And when we talked about movement and such in the other videos, we should know what that is. We have our loot and gold roll totals, right, if for what we need to get that when we defeat them. And of course, we have our abilities that's going to trigger during combat. You definitely want to pay attention to these because there's some that are on attack, on defense, when they take damage, when they deal damage, that sort of thing. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to those. So the way that combat works when a hero attacks a Guardian in classic combat, we can only use a single weapon. But what's different about the Guardians is that unlike a minion, we will actually be processing something in all three of the war phases. So we're going to take all three. In this case, we have ranged, spiritual, and arcane. And we're going to shuffle those up to determine the order that we're going to process these. This is a single round of combat, but again, the difference is instead of a single round consisting of a single warfare type and a final strike roll with a minion, we're actually going to do a single round utilizing all three of the warfare types, and there is no final strike. So let's see what we come up with. So there we go. We got arcane, ranged, and then spiritual. So what you're going to do is, if it's a single hero attacking, because you can rally, and we'll talk about that also later on, a single hero attacking, you can only attack in a single phase, and you must defend in all of the other phases. So obviously we're going to look and see what our stats are. The same rules apply for fighting these Guardians, in that if we are successful with our roll, then we will deal damage. If we are not successful in our warfare roll, then we will take the damage listed on the card. So in this case, you can see here with spiritual, we need a 15. If we fail, we take 2 damage. A 16 in range, we take 2 damage. And a 14 in arcane, we take 2 damage. So if we failed all these, a hero could take 6 damage in one go. Yikes. Brutal. So I'm going to look at this and I'm going to decide what my best stat probably is. I mean, clearly my best stat is going to be ranged, because I've got 4, 7, and 9 total to it. So I definitely feel like I will be attacking in ranged. You can use these battle tokens to mark this. Now, you can use the Dungeon UI board. I usually just lay it out like this or something similar to this for myself. So I'm going to attack in phase 2, and I'm going to put that on a weapon. In this case, we have 2 weapons. They both do 2 damage. Remember, it doesn't matter, right? Even if I pick this +2 damage Peacekeeper, and the Peacekeeper is has a spiritual warfare bonus, the bonus from my other weapon still applies, right? I'm just choosing the damage that I'm doing from each of the weapons, right? Whichever weapon I decide. So in this case, they're both the same. I could choose this. I could choose the bow. Doesn't matter. And then I'm going to defend in the other 2 phases, right? So we're going to throw this out here, and we're going to hope Yeah, you can see that. Throw this out here. Actually, you know what? Let's move this over here. Yeah. Let's really move this over here because I got some room to do it. There we go. So we're going to roll it up. Let's see what happens as an example. All right, so we have our arcane first. Then we have our ranged next. Just going to put these in this order just to make it a little bit easier to read. And then there's our spiritual. So phase one is arcane. We look at our arcane modifier. We have a -3 here and a +2, so it's a total of -1. We have a 4 and a 3, which is a 7. -1 is a 6. We needed a 14. Yikes. So we would take 2 damage because we failed that. We have ranged as our second. We're attacking in range with our weapon. So we have an 8 and a 4. That's a 12. Plus another 4 is 16. Plus another 2 is 18. Plus another 3 is 21. So we nailed him with the ranged. So he would take 2 damage. So we could put a 2 damages on here. I usually use those markers as damages. You can use the damage markers or some other way to, however you want to mark that. And then our spiritual, which we needed a 15. We have a 0, +2, +2. This is +4. 5 and 4 is 9. +4 is 13. So we're a little short, so we would take 2 more damage. So that's classic combat. That is a single round, right? So it's a single action to move up to and attack the Guardian with a single hero. Now, like I said, we'll talk about rallying later, but in classic combat, well, let's just talk about rallying now. That's how it works, okay? But unlike a minion, you can rally other heroes to your cause. So now let's set it up. Let's assume that you have actually rallied other heroes. In this case, we'll say we rallied 2 other heroes to our cause to fight this Guardian. All right, so let's say that this is the scenario. So we've rallied 2 other heroes. We're still fighting the same enemy, right? So again, just like in classic combat, each hero can only use a single weapon, right? So we would look at all of our heroes. We're just going to still do the same process. This is when you rally your heroes. So you're still going to do the same process. We're still going to randomize this. And this is going to be the order. It's still a single round of combat. There's our order. And then we can choose who attacks. So let's just say we know our ranger here has the best weapon for that. Let's see, I believe, let's say that with all the bonuses that we're going to use this weapon during the arcane with this hero, and then we're going to use in the blessing. Ooh, so this guy doesn't have a whole lot in the blessing. It's going to be not great. We're gonna do that right there. Now we go through the same process, right? We're gonna roll. So we're gonna roll. There's our roll. Wow, that's gonna be a rough round, right? So there's our rolls. But what's gonna happen is we're gonna evaluate, because each hero has a weapon, whatever phase they're in. We're gonna evaluate and see, based on that warfare type that they're attacking in, did they hit? Now we've got a 4. We have a whole bunch for the ranger. So if he hit, he would do 2 damage. If he missed, right, it's the same thing. We take 2 damage, right? And again, make sure that you're doing this, right? And it says before Magnus attacks the target hero, the hero must evade to dodge the arrow, right? And if he fails to get an affliction, so make sure that you process those, because in this case, like the affliction, it could be that affliction um, would change and make it where a particular type uh, of warfare, if it was the second one, then it would take away the dice that they could roll in combat. So that's important. Um, um, and also, it says before Magnus attacks the target hero, and this is on attack. So I believe that would mean it would be the first hero. No, I'm sorry. Each time he attacks. So this is when we're attacking Magnus, this doesn't matter, right? Because this is us attacking Magnus. On attack means when he attacks, so this would actually happen when this Guardian is attacking us, not when we're attacking him. So this actually doesn't matter at all for this. So when we attack, we look, if we made it, we do the damage. So if we were successful in the range, we do 2 damage. If we fail, he would take 2 damage. In phase 2 with Arcane, if her total was successful, you do 2 damage. If she failed, she would take 2 damage because that's what's on the card. And then finally in the spiritual, same thing, do his totals. That's how the damage works. Okay. But each hero, with rallying, the important part is each hero has to participate. So I could not choose to rally 2 heroes and then say, okay, well, because maybe he's got a much better value for, I don't know, let's say that his spiritual was actually higher. I could not also make him defend, right? Because this hero was rallied, he's got to be a part of the battle in some way, whether he's attacking or defending. Now, let's assume that I had not rallied him, so he's out of the picture. Now I can choose which hero I want to attack. They can only attack once, so they both, in this case, we've said, okay, they're both going to attack in these 2. Then I would just have to choose one or the other to defend in. I could choose her to defend in. I could choose him to defend in that phase. Doesn't matter because they both at least participated once. That's classic combat. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Now let's switch it up and let's talk about revised combat. So again, the whole point of revised combat is to make things a bit more streamlined, to keep it moving a bit quicker. And there's a lot of things that are similar to the classic combat. We're still going to process all the warfare types. The damage still works the same way. When we attack, we still have to use an action to attack. But there's a couple things that are a little bit different with the revised combat. So this time, what we're going to do is we're going to shuffle these up, right, just like we normally do. But there's a little bit more of an element of not knowing what's going to happen, right? So we're going to flip over the first token. So in this case, it's ranged. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to pick a weapon. The biggest difference here is that in revised combat, we can attack with the same weapon or different weapons in all of the phases. Okay, that's the biggest thing. Is now we're not limited to a single attack when we're attacking a Guardian. Again, this is us attacking the Guardian, not the Guardian attacking us. This is us attacking the Guardian. We can use the same weapon. We can use different weapons, but we can actually attack in all the phases. So instead of basically defending and successfully defending and saying, okay, I don't take damage, now we have a chance to do damage, which is what kind of speeds the game up, right? And that is probably the biggest difference. But what we do need to do is, in case we wanted to switch weapons, in this case we only have one, but even if we had, let's say we actually had 2, we still need to do this one thing at a time. So we flip it over, we say, okay, there's ranged. And the reason that you do it this way is if you have multiple heroes, you would wait and choose, right? You wouldn't plan out the whole attack. You do these one at a time to make it a little bit more real and accurate of like real combat, because you wouldn't know what's coming next. But in this case, he's the only one here, so there's really no combat, right? We don't even need these battle tokens because it's a single hero. He's going to attack in every phase, right? While you would never not attack in each phase. Now, you may switch weapons between phases. So, in this case, I don't have any weapons that give me any sort of advantage. They both do 2 damage. So, I can say I'm going to attack with this one in phase 1 and 2 and this one in phase 3. The modifiers don't matter, right? So, this is ranged. We have what? A 4, 7, a 9. 9 and 8 is 17. So, we would do 2 damage. So, that's phase 1 completed. Then we flip over the next one. It's arcane. We have a -3 and a +2. So, that's a -1. This is going to hurt. Yeah, that's a 7. So we would take 2 damage, right, because of that. And then finally we have spiritual. We have a +2 and another +2. That's phase 2. Phase 3, spiritual, +2, +2. So that's a +4. 5 and 4 is 9. +4 is 13, which is still enough, so we would take 2 damage. Right, so did 2, took 4, kind of a crappy return. But that's revised. But we're able to use any weapons we want. We can attack in all the phases. And really, there's not a lot that changes when we start talking about rallying heroes, because essentially what happens is the same thing that happened before, where we have multiple heroes, right? We're going to shuffle this up. Really, the only difference is we get it shuffled. We're going to flip them over one at a time. We're going to do arcane. So let's say we decide he's going to do arcane, or she's going to do arcane. We rolled arcane, 11 and 5, and I know she's got better than that. So like that would be a success, right? Process that. Then we flip over another one. So she's participated. So she attacked in phase 1. Flip over. We have ranged. Probably gonna have him attack in range. Phase 2. So we'll mark this down for him. So we still have the requirement that third, all heroes that participate have to be, or that are rallied have to participate. So in this case, we would still have to have him, right, attack basically inside of that round, or inside of that combat. But the difference is now, right, he can potentially do some damage, even if he doesn't do great. He'll still take the damage if he fails, but that's the power of revised combat. And you'll notice, just from a tactical perspective, these guys are very strong, and usually these warfare types are kind of spread out among the characters. So you're not going to generally find a character where all 3 of these warfare types are really good, unless you specifically gear somebody out that way, specifically to take out a guardian. In most cases, just like champion combat, it's usually a better idea to rally the troops together so that you can make the most and do a bunch of damage at one time in order to take them out, because it's going to be really hard to do it with a single hero, especially given that every time they fail, they're going to take damage. So you could potentially one hero could potentially take 6 damage from one round of combat with this guardian. And if they tried to do it twice and failed miserably, and that's 12 damage that they could take, which is absolutely egregious. You'd be chugging potions left and right, if that was the case. But that is the revised combat. Heroes attacking a guardian. We've already talked earlier about heroes attacking classic combat. So now let's just talk about guardians attacking a hero during that phase. So really, regardless of which type of combat you're doing, whether it's classic or revised, the same thing applies for when a guardian attacks you. You're going to, of course, look at any of the abilities that it may have and trigger those, and you'll want to make sure you pay attention to other abilities that you have, or things that are going on in the dungeon make sure that those are processed. But you're going to do the same thing. But remember, when we're defending, we're going to shuffle all three of these up. When we're defending, Guardian is attacking hero and defending. We don't get to attack back unless we pay our 1 essence and use our counterattack card. Otherwise, normally you would just go through the same process, right? You flip a warfare token over. You're in defending. I'm gonna roll this, right? I'm gonna see whether I get hit or whether I didn't, right? If my target number is 14 in this case, did I get a 14 or higher? If I got a 14 or higher, I don't take damage. If I failed that roll, I take 2 damage. We're gonna flip over the next one. Same thing. We roll our spiritual dice. We got a 10 plus any bonuses. Did we get enough to take damage or not? We'll take damage or deal it damage. But if then we flip over to the third one. If we've got our counterattack, right, this might be a point because this is, in this case, this is our best ability. I could use that, right? And I'm going to do this roll. Either way, I'm going to do the roll. So I've got, a 5, 9 with a +4, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Ooh, that's actually a failure. Wow, that's unfortunate. So in this case, right, he failed. So even if I had a counterattack, I wouldn't have damaged him because I failed. I would have taken 2 damage. If I didn't use the counterattack because I failed, I would have taken 2 damage. Again, this is all regardless of which type of warfare, not which type of warfare, what type of combat you're using. It is a single round of combat, just to recap. Recap from the top, quick rundown. Classic combat, you're going to only be able to use one weapon in one of the phases. If you rally, each hero has to participate by either using a weapon that they have, and they can only use one during the fight, or defending, but they all have to participate. In revised combat, a single hero can use the same weapon for every phase. If you have multiple heroes that you rally, the same rule applies in revised, that you have to all have them participate. And you're going to, in revised combat, reveal these tokens one at a time, and in defense, you're going to reveal these tokens one at a time and make your decision about what to use. And that, my friends, is Guardian Combat in Dungeon Crusade. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. I am Justin, the Board Game Roamer. Excited to be doing this rulebook series. Hopefully this helps you guys out. If you see anything that I goofed up, or you have any questions or comments or suggestions on how to make the video better, or something else to cover, or better way, something I need to cover more in depth, then let me know. This series is going to be a living, breathing rulebook, hopefully, and we'll make the necessary edits or even refilm the whole thing if I need to. But yeah, thank you guys for watching and subscribing. I will see you, my friends, in the next video. Bye, guys.